In her past life, due to the Huang Yueli's high level of skills and innate gift, she was one of the talents in Soaring Heaven's continent, so she had never to worry about this. But now, she was facing a severe challenge. Based on her first-degree realm's cultivation, if it was any other normal armament master, no matter what innate gift they had, there was no way to refine a second-grade profound armament. Moreover, the item she wanted to refine was a 4th-level upper-grade profound lunar spirit mirror, and she had intended to add in modifications to make the profound armament to advance to the 5th level. This was an unimaginable dream for most people. Huang Yueli used the strong concentration that had been left over from her past life, mounts of experience that she had gained, and a strong determination and willpower. She vowed that she would challenge this impossible task. She gathered all her profound energy and put her best foot forward. For Li Moying. She must do it. In the armament furnace, different materials were starting to melt. But it was still in regiments and were contradicting one another, refusing to mold together. Huang Yueli's expression was solemn and she kept the incantation gestures going. No matter how serious anything was, 100% of the time, her heart always remained calm and patient. She knew more than anyone else that the more rigorous a challenge was, the more she must remain calm and collected. In this way, she would be able to bring her potential to the highest level. Time slowly passed by. Outside the array, the sky had turned slightly dark and slightly brightened up again. However, Huang Yueli was unaffected by the changes happening outside. She put in all her concentration into the materials in the armament furnace, not daring to let her mind wander. Finally, a sound gently echoed and the materials in the furnace suddenly bubbled, letting out a pungent smoke. Huang Yueli gazed at the golden, purified liquid and her eyes reflected a smile. Finally, the convergence step was completed. The next step was to add in the profound lunar jade. With a flick of her fingers, the grayish rock that Huang Yueli had dug out from the mountain wall was flung into the furnace. The instant that rock fell into the molten liquid, something unexpected happened. The originally unremarkable grayish rock suddenly slipped out of its original color and slowly became lighter until it finally became crystal clear. Under the flames, it sparkled brightly as if it was the most beautifully cut gem on earth. The profound lunar jade blended into the molten liquid and melted in the fastest possible speed. The liquid in the armament furnace also became a bluish-green color and it vaguely let out a gust of cold air. The flowing speed gradually became slower and slower, showing signs of being frozen. Huang Yueli's expression became increasingly deep as she knew this was the crucial moment that the profound armament would form into its shape. She took a deep breath and her hand movements became even more prudent. Outside the array, Mo Air, Mo San, Luo Jiyun and Murong and I took turns to guard the unconscious Li Moying. This was already the 3rd morning. Luo Jiyun looked at Li Moying who was lying in the tent and took a deep sigh. Sigh, why is sister-in-law taking so long to refine the profound armament? Could there have been an accident? I really wish to go in and add a look at the situation. Moe immediately replied, Master Luo, you might not know about this but refining armaments are normally time and energy consuming. It is especially so for 4th-level upper-grade profound armaments such as the profound lunar spirit mirror. It will take at least 7 days, now it has only been 3 days, so there's still a long way to go. You can also listen on. Luo Jiyun replied, Really? I thought it would be ready in 1 or 2 days. If that's the case, does that mean sister-in-law is working laboriously without eating or resting? Moe nodded, that's right. When armament masters start refining, they absolutely cannot stop, at most they would take some abstinence pills to satisfy their hunger. Such a high-intensity job requires a huge amount of profound energy, so I'm worried if 3rd Miss can persevere. Luo Jiyun started to feel worried when he heard this. No wonder every piece of armament is sold at an outrageous price. It's tough being an armament master. Sigh, I really cannot take a look. I'm really worried. What if senior brother doesn't wake up and sister-in-law can't hang on? What shall we do? When Moe heard what Luo Jiyun said, he immediately stopped him. You absolutely cannot disturb her. If there is any disturbance during the refining process, it is easy to get into trouble. Murong and I had been eavesdropping on their conversation, and when she heard this, she couldn't stop herself from speaking out. Fifth brother, did you really believe that Huang Yueli is able to refine the profound lunar spirit mirror? This, to be honest, Luo Jiyun was skeptical. Even Moe also did not show his confidence that Huang Yueli could make it, unlike previous times. Murong and I continued, in my opinion, all of you have been deceived by Yueli. How could she be a fifth-grade armament master? Just with that little bit of cultivation, you know it's just not possible. Luo Jiyun subconsciously rebuked her, but sister-in-law had already said that she could do it, so we should at least let her have a go at it. Murong and I snorted disgruntledly, why must we let her try? Do you know how much time we have wasted? If it wasn't for the fact that she insisted on looking for the profound lunar jade, we might have got out of the dark moon forest and made contact with brother's men. Now we've wasted so much time and she's not able to refine the profound lunar spirit mirror, it will definitely delay senior brother's condition. Luo Jiyun was convinced by her words and showed signs of worries. Sigh, it's not entirely wrong to say this, but since sister-in-law had already started refining, to say it is a failure. Isn't it too early? What's more, even if it was a failure, we should have a look at the end result first. Don't tell me we should just give up halfway. Murong and I disapprovingly replied, you still want to wait for more than 7 days. By the time she comes out, it may be too late for senior brother. We should stop wasting time. Make use of the opportunity now and send senior brother back to the sect. Stop making consecutive mistakes. Luo Jiyun felt that her words made some sense, but he was still indecisive. But sister-in-law is still inside the array refining the profound armament. How about her? What else can we do? Of course we should go inform her about this and stop the refining process. How can we do that? Didn't you hear what Brother Moe said? If armament masters are disrupted while they are refining, there is a high possibility that they will enter into a state of chi deviation. Well, there's no other way. Since we are all in the 5th degree realm, with our combined strength, I'm sure we are able to transport senior brother out safely. If we don't leave together, there is no guarantee that we can ensure his safety. If Yueli insists on staying to refine the armament and can't leave, then we can only leave her here alone. What? How can we do that? Luo Jiyun frowned. The sides of Murong Ni's lips curled upwards and revealed a sly smile. Why not? Do we have any other ideas now? Tell me who is more important now, senior brother or Yueli? You can also listen on. In actual fact, when Murong and I heard what Moe said earlier, she already knew that Yueli could not be disturbed in her current state. So the idea that she came out with had 2 routes, both of it were major disadvantages to Huang Yueli. If they were to remind Huang Yueli to stop refining, even if the profound lunar spirit mirror was originally a success, it would end up failing because of the disruption, and there was a huge possibility of incurring a serious internal injury or even enter the state of chi deviation. If they don't inform her and left without a word, as a 1st degree realm practitioner, she would be equivalent to a fat sheep waiting to run into a pack of wolves in the dark moon forest. There was no way she could leave this place alive. No matter which method they chose would be a life-threatening situation. If it was normal times, no one would leave Huang Yueli on her own. But now that Li Moying was seriously injured, everyone was uptight and absent-minded. Including the fact that they had waited for 3 days, so they were feeling restless and worried that Li Moying's condition might worsen due to the delay. It was only under the current circumstances that Murong and I had dared to voice out her opinions. She accurately guessed their mentality and knew that nothing was more important than Li Moying's health at this point of time. Weighing the pros and cons, the possibility of leaving Huang Yueli behind was much higher. As expected, everyone fell into a short span of silence after they heard Murong Ni's suggestions. The smile on Murong and I became more obvious and she was sneering in her heart. Yuli, just because senior brother stood up for you, did you feel complacent? Now everyone will abandon you because of senior brother, this is what you deserve. However, Moe shook his head after a while. No. Myself, Mo Air and Mo San will not abandon third miss and leave without her. If the both of you cannot wait, you may leave first. But since you're not able to guarantee master's safety, we will not allow you to bring away our master. Murong Ni's smile froze as she had never expected to hear such an answer. She immediately turned anxious. Brother Moe, how can you do this? Aren't you worried about senior brother's condition? Are you going to allow Yuli, that lass, to do as she wish? If senior brother's cultivation really reversed, leaving him injured for the rest of his life, what are you going to do about it? Moe replied, the situation you are describing is possible, then why are you not hurrying to leave with us? Murong and I hurriedly cut into his words. Moe shook his head and calmly replied, but I'm very sure that master can throw away his life just to ensure that third miss do not get injured. If he finds out the truth later that we ignored third miss's safety and left without permission, he will definitely not let us off. As servants, we cannot defy our master's orders, so we seek Miss Murong's understanding. Moe's words were neither obsequious nor supercilious. Although he said to ask Murong and I for her understanding, in actual fact he had already given the answer, which was they would definitely not leave. Murong and I had not expected Moe to be so insistent. Her satisfactory plans were going to be overturned and she started to be anxious. She turned her head and looked at the position of Huang Yueli's spirit-gathering array and a sinister expression flashed past her eyes. She suddenly stood up and walked towards the spirit-gathering array. Junior sister, what's wrong? Why are you walking over there for? Luo Jiyun found it weird and questioned her. You can also listen on. Murong and I made up an excuse instantly. I have a need to answer the call of nature. Oh, Luo Jiyun nodded and putting aside this question, turned to the opposite direction. Murong and I was the only female around, so if she needed to answer the call of nature, naturally she would walk further away. These few men had to avoid doing anything that might arouse suspicion, so they resolved not to turn their heads around. Murong and I waited for everyone to turn around before she sped up and slid over to the front of Huang Yueli's spirit-gathering array. She raised her fingers and held up her whip, summoned her profound skill and threw out her whip heavily in the direction of the array. A huge boom shook the entire ground. The men finally realized something was wrong, and when they took a look, all of them turned pale with fright. Junior sister, what are you doing? Come back quickly. You cannot go and disturb sister-in-law. Miss Murong, what were you intending to do? Quickly leave that place. Not only did Murong and I not hear them, she used 100% of her profound energy and continued attacking the array. This round, she thought that since her intentions were already discovered by everyone, she might as well not bother hiding and started to shout while she was continuing her attacks. Yuli, come out now. Stop wasting time inside, we are going to descend the mountain. Just give up since you're not able to refine the profound lunar spirit mirror. Come out, quickly come out now. Her voice had a penetrative effect which echoed around the surroundings of the mountain path. When the few men heard this, their faces had turned exceptionally unsightly. With Murong Ni's attack and vociferation, unless Huang Yueli was dead, otherwise she would definitely be disturbed. Refining armaments was not for fun but an extremely dangerous task. What she was doing was obviously because she wanted Huang Yueli dead. The others used their fastest speed and hurried over, in an attempt to drag Murong and I away. When Murong and I saw this, her attack speed increased several notches and continued to shout, "Yuli, quickly come out. Stop wasting everyone's time since you're not able to refine it. Senior brother is going to die because of you." How would she not know that she would cause Huang Yueli's attention to be diverted and meet with a mishap? But that was exactly the end result of what she had hoped for. She wanted so badly for Huang Yueli to enter into the state of qi deviation and suffer from internal injuries, then cough out blood. If it wasn't for this end result, how could she make Huang Yueli pay for the humiliation of making her kowtow 100 times? She dared to humiliate her like this. Dying 100 times wouldn't be enough to pay for it. Even though this might make the refinement process a failure, Murong and I had never even considered this, as she had already determined that Huang Yueli was not able to refine the profound lunar spirit mirror. Whether she broke her momentum or not, it should not affect Li Moying at all. The men were extremely anxious, but since they were a distance from the array, rushing over would require a bit more time. Mo Yi's expression looked extremely terrible. If it wasn't for the fact that he did not stop Murong and I and got Huang Yueli injured again, when Li Moying awakes, how furious would he get? Just as everyone were in extreme anxiety, something unexpected happened. Following a buzz sound, the spirit gathering array was actually released. Murong and I had not stopped her attacks, as she clearly understood that a 4th level array was not easily damaged. So her main aim was never to break the array but merely to disrupt Huang Yueli's refining process. So she had never thought that the array would suddenly disappear. She fell short of defense, and because she used too much power, she was unable to stop herself. In an instant, she fell directly into the boundary of the array, flat on her face onto the ground. You can also listen on. The next moment, Huang Yueli's skirt hem appeared right before her eyes. Murong and I dazedly raised her head and looked upwards, following the direction of Huang Yueli's skirt. In the end, before she could see anything, she felt something cooling on her face. Her hands reached out and touched her face, and found it full of blood. She finally realized that when she fell, she had hurt her nose and it caused a nosebleed which smeared all over her face. Murong and I embarrassedly climbed up. Using her strength to wipe her nose, she smeared the blood onto other parts of her face, causing it to look even messier than before, and slightly comical. Huang Yueli couldn't stop herself from laughing out. "Murong and I, what are you doing? Did you find that I was too bored with refining armament, so you're here to put up a skit for me to watch? You! What are you saying?" Murong and I flew into a rage, her eyes staring hard at Huang Yueli, and started cursing, "You vixen, how dare you use underhanded methods to scheme against me? You're utterly shameless and evil." Huang Yueli retracted her smiles and coldly said, "Please get yourself right. Who was the one using underhanded methods? I want to question Miss Murong. When I was refining the armament, who attacked my spirit gathering array and who was screaming and shouting outside? What does that imply?" I thought that since you were not coming out, I wanted to urge you." Murong's thoughts were squashed and her stance weakened, but she quickly found an adequate reason. "Oh. Urge me. That's right." Murong and I raised her head and acted righteously. "Can't you see what kind of condition senior brother is in right now? Can he continue waiting for countless days? Can you or can't you refine the profound lunar spirit mirror? Quickly tell us the truth. If this drags on, how will you account for if senior brother's injuries worsen further?" Huang Yueli's gaze became even colder. "You are urging me. Do you know how much time is needed for an armament master to refine armaments? And that the refining process cannot be disturbed?" As Huang Yueli was speaking, her gaze brushed past her and it remained affixed on the 4 men standing behind. Those who felt her gaze brush past started to look down sheepishly in guilt. Moe replied, "Third Miss, I had reminded Miss Murong, but we had never expected her to use the excuse of answering a nature's call to get past us and ran over secretly. It's my fault that this happened. Third Miss, I shall await your punishment." Huang Yueli's side of her lips curled and she moved her gaze back to Murong and I. "So, you knew that it would cause me to enter the state of chi deviation and you still did it on purpose?" Murong and I looked at her calm composure and felt like punching her. She had wanted so badly to say, "That's right, I did it on purpose." But Murong and I still had some brains. She knew this was not the time to admit her wrongdoings, so she shook her head with all her might. "Of course not, why would I do that on purpose? I was just anxious. Who asked you to waste so much time and yet still not refine even a bit of the profound lunar spirit mirror?" Huang Yueli sniggered but did not say a word. Murong and I then realized that something was not right. Yueli, you're not affected at all. Shouldn't you be?" She had yet to finish her sentence, but everyone understood what she meant. Murong and I had forcefully launched an attack on Huang Yueli's array, causing her to halt her refining process and release the array. In such a way, Huang Yueli would definitely suffer serious backlash effects. Even if she didn't enter the state of chi deviation, she should have at least suffered some kind of internal injury. You can also listen on. Especially the armament that she had just refined was way above what her cultivation level could refine. According to logic, she would not only have obtained an injury, and it should have been a serious injury. Murong and I was insistent on this belief in this, so she struck out without holding back. However, the situation now was way past her expectations. Huang Yueli stood silently in the array, a tall, large armament furnace sparkled with faint amethyst and gold rays behind her. Just one glance and you can tell it's something extraordinary. As for herself, although her face was slightly stained with dust, her slightly damp hair was stuck on her face and she showed hints of fatigue, but she didn't look one who had sustained injuries. Murong and I scrutinized her from head to toe, and after some time, she still couldn't see where Huang Yueli had sustained injuries. When Moe and the rest saw her, they quickly walked closer and inquired in a concerned tone, "Third Miss, are you all right? If you have any internal injury or anywhere that you feel unwell, you must tell us. I have prepared some pills which are meant for treating internal injuries." Huang Yueli shook her head and replied, "No worries, I'm not injured at all. It's just that I was stuck inside for 3 days, so I'm famished. Can you find me something to eat?" Hearing that, Moe immediately ran to start the fire to cook up a feast. Murong and I stared blankly at her and said unbelievingly, "You're all right, you're not injured. How can that be? This could not be happening." Huang Yueli threw her a glance with an expression cold like ice. "Why? Do you feel that it's a pity that I'm not injured? You still dare to say it's unintentional? Do you think I'm an idiot?" Murong and I was agitated by her and couldn't hold back further. "What? So what if I was intentional? I think you did that on purpose too, right? No wonder you did not sustain any injuries, because you were not even refining any armaments. The furnace was just a decoy. You're obviously wasting time with the intention to drag us down. So, did I guess correctly?" Huang Yueli gave her a glance like she was looking at an imbecile. "Why do I need to put up appearances in the array? And for an entire 3 days? What advantages would I gain?" Murong and I chuckled. "Aren't you very clear about this? It must be because you promised the heavens and earth, but once you entered the array, you realized that 4th level upper grade armaments are not easily refined as your level is too far off. So you thought of hiding inside to continue pretending. After 8 to 10 days then you'd pretend to fail because you don't have enough power. In this way, you will be less embarrassed. But, have you thought of it, although you have not lost so much face, but as the days drag on, what will become of senior brother? Luckily, I woke up to this face and exposed your scheme. Otherwise, senior brother is going to die because of you. Huang Yueli stared at her, not making any sound. She had seen brainless people, but never had she met someone as brain-dead as this. She could even thought of this verdict. And she was pretty shameless to try and discredit Huang Yueli, and yet at the same time bring credit to herself. It was obviously Murong and I plotting against Huang Yueli, but when the words came out from her mouth, it sounded as though she had recorded a merit and did a big favor for everyone. Huang Yueli's silence made Murong and I think that she was correct, thus her guilty silence. What? I've got it, isn't it? Fifth brother and the rest have been deceived by you. Your armament furnace looks like it is a high-quality product. But it has been ruined by a swindler like you, who is fishing for fame and compliments. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli revealed a smile which didn't look like a smile. I know, you want me to fail so badly, but unfortunately I have to apologize that I have disappointed you. I have yet to fail refining any armaments under my care. Murong and I sneered and blurted out without thinking, still trying to exaggerate. 4th level upper grade profound weapon, can you possibly refine it? This I got it, see, ouch. Before she could finish her words, Huang Yueli had pushed her aside. Murong and I was caught off guard and nearly fell on her face. She staggered several steps back and managed to force herself to stand steadily. What are you doing? A good dog doesn't block the road. Huang Yueli spared any glances at her and her lips curled upwards, but the words she soiled out were infuriating. You little, Murong and I was about to fly into a rage when she saw Huang Yueli's expression froze as she made an incantation gesture towards the armament furnace. A puff sounded and the amethyst gold furnace's lid started to puff out green smoke. At the same time, it was vibrating gently. Murong and I just realized that all the while when they were talking, the armament furnace was still refining the profound armament. She had seen their sect's armament masters refining weapons and knew that when they were refining weapons, they must concentrate fully without a single bit of distraction. If they conversed with anyone or even a slight glance might end up with an explosion. However, all the while that Huang Yueli conversed with her, her vision had not even drifted to the armament furnace, and the result was, it had not exploded. And it looked like the refining process was pretty successful. In actual fact, what Murong and I didn't know was that when refining profound armaments, concentration was most required in the molding and shaping process. Once the profound armament had gained its shape, as long as the deviant flames was strong enough, all they needed was sufficient time for the waiting process. Those armament masters who were extremely careful and didn't even dare to make any sound when they had entered the molding stage was because they didn't have the ability to use refined powerful deviant flames. They could only use normal flame armament, so that would be extremely dangerous. At this point of time, Huang Yueli put all her attention on the profound weapon in the furnace, ignoring Murong and I. The profound weapon had long been molded into its shape, but the flame towards the ending part was extremely important. The exact time to open the furnace was decided by the degree of the calcination, and was the crucial step of refining armaments. The speed of her incantation gestures were very fast, one after another, and soon it all added up together. Following that, she struck out the final incantation gesture and lightly said, "Keep." 2 deviant flames flew out from the bottom of the armament furnace and landed into her palms. Luo Jiyun's eyes were fixated on the flames and he shouted out in shock, That. Is that the legendary deviant flame? How did sister-in-law get the deviant flame? And there's 2 of them. Moe quickly tugged at him, Shoo. Keep quiet. You can't make any noises at this moment. Luo Jiyun quickly covered his mouth. Huang Yueli recovered back the deviant flames and lightly shouted, "Open." The furnace cover raised up and let out all the miscellaneous smoke that had piled up within. Momentarily the sky was filled with smoke clouds. Coincidentally, the smoke happened to be blown towards Murongni's direction. She had originally stood by the side when she was dazed by Huang Yueli's skilled and graceful movements like a dance. In the end, a cloud of thick smoke came charging towards her face when the furnace lid opened. Murong's entire face was puffed with smoke. Ow, ow, ow. What is this? It's so hot, so hot. Why can't I see anything? Help, help. You can also listen on. Murong and I wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves as she was sprayed by that thick smoke. Her face was heated and she had a huge shock. Huang Yueli coldly sneered, "What's there to scream about? It's just a cloud of smoke. Who asked you to come so near, and of all places, you had to stand at where the ventilator was. If I hadn't kept the deviant flames in advance, you'd have been burnt to a crisp." Murong and I was filled with hatred, but she couldn't say anything against it. Subconsciously she felt that Huang Yueli had intentionally controlled the direction of the smoke towards her, but she didn't have any evidence. Huang Yueli was a genuine armament master, so when she said the position where Murong and I was standing was wrong, Murong and I simply had no way to fight back. Luckily, this puff of smoke was exactly as what Huang Yueli said, and it wasn't too hot, only making her face turn red with heat and some skin had begun to peel, but she wasn't disfigured. Some thick smoke smogged her eyes and was extremely pungent, causing Murongni's eyes to turn red and kept tearing. That sight was extremely pitiful. However, Huang Yueli didn't bother to look at her, and continued walking towards the side of the armament furnace. Carefully, she retrieved a palm-sized mirror. This mirror reflected a faint indigo color and looked eerie. However, Moe became excited once he saw this mirror. This is really the profound lunar spirit mirror. I've seen the blueprint of the profound lunar spirit mirror and it reflects this special indigo color, so it cannot be wrong. Saying that, he carefully inquired Huang Yueli, "Third miss, may I borrow and take a look?" Huang Yueli replied smilingly, "Why? You don't trust me?" Moe shook his head, "No. It's just, this profound lunar spirit mirror, it seems a little different from the one that I've seen previously." Huang Yueli's lips curled and she generously passed the profound lunar spirit mirror to Moe. When Moe took the profound armament, he instantly felt a chilling sensation and almost didn't hold on to it. But a joyous expression flashed past his face because this chilling feeling was one of the special attributes of the profound lunar spirit mirror. He took the profound armament in his hands and checked it carefully. Moe noticed that the profound lunar spirit mirror that Huang Yueli had refined was slightly different from the blueprint that he had seen. The pattern carvings on the mirror was a lot more complicated than the blueprint, and the shape of the mirror was different as well. But from the color and feeling, it was definitely the profound lunar spirit mirror. Huang Yueli saw the questions that were troubling Moe, so she explained, "The profound lunar spirit mirror that I had refined is indeed different from the blueprint that Li Moying gave me. Perhaps you have already noticed, this profound lunar spirit mirror is a 5th grade mid-quality profound armament. 5th grade mid-rank." Moe's hands shivered and almost dropped the mirror that he was holding. This was too thrilling. The armament that Huang Yueli had refined was a 5th grade mid-rank profound armament. But he was also considered as a practitioner who had mounts of experience. Even though they didn't have any tools to ascertain the product, but towards the profound armament's grade that he was holding in his hands, he roughly could gauge. From the exterior looks of this profound lunar spirit mirror, it was indeed worth much more than a normal 4th grade upper-level profound armament. But the fact that Huang Yueli could refine a 4th grade upper-level profound lunar spirit mirror successfully was already a shocking fact. And now, she told him that she had improvised on the blueprint and the end product that she had refined was of a higher grade by 2 small levels than the original. Was he really not dreaming? You can also listen on. Huang Yueli saw Mo Yi's face filled with astonishment, so she said, "Try putting this on for Li Moying. We'll know its effect once he tries it on." When Mo Yi heard what she said, he hurriedly explained, "Third miss, I'm not doubting your ability, but," Huang Yueli stopped him, "no need to explain, quickly let Li Moying try this on." Mo Yi nodded and hastily ran back into the tent. Huang Yueli had originally intended to follow him in. It will be best if she could see Li Moying waking up personally, but as she was about to take one step ahead, a low groan was heard from nearby. She turned towards the sound and found Murong Enai sitting on the ground rubbing her eyes. Her face was filled with soot and she stared at Huang Yueli with an indescribable enmity. When Huang Yueli looked towards her direction, Murong Enai gritted her teeth and said menacingly, "You Li. Today's matter, I won't let it go so easily. You dared to humiliate me, I will never let you off." Huang Yueli stopped in her tracks and she smiled lightly. "What a coincidence, I have no intention to let you off too. If you hadn't reminded me I would have forgotten about it. You intentionally disrupted me when I was refining armament, with the evil intent to cause me to die. Did you think that the fall that you had was enough to let you off?" Huang Yueli smiled sweetly, and she looked pure and cute, but in Murong Ni's eyes, she felt it was terrifying. She involuntarily nudged herself backwards on the ground. What are you intending to do?" "I'm warning you. My father is senior brother's benefactor, everyone in the sect will help me. If you hurt me, even senior brother will not let you off," Huang Yueli replied. I know, I'm sick and tired of hearing these words. Next time when you're threatening others, can you please change some new lines?" Murong and I saw that she wasn't affected and knew instantly that something is amiss. She quickly stood up with the intention to escape. She knew now that she could not afford to offend Huang Yueli and prepared to endure with this anger for now. After all, she was a reputable sect master's daughter and surrounding her were plenty of the sect's disciples, so whenever senior brother wasn't around, she would have plenty of chances to take revenge. For now, it's best to swallow her angry. Murong and I felt the way she had escaped was very uncomfortable, but as the situation was out of her grasp, she had no choice. Who knew, she had just ran a few steps when her head banged against a solid wall, causing a concussion to her brain, and she was seeing stars spinning. Ow! So painful. She held her forehead and lifted her head to take a look, but she realized that there was no obstacle in her way. Murong and I finally reacted and became aware that she was still within Huang Yueli's array, and it was Huang Yueli who had reactivated the array to lock her up. Behind her, Huang Yueli started to speak calmly. "Trying to escape? Isn't it too early for it? Let's calculate the debts clearly first. Since the beginning, when we first entered the Dark Moon Forest, you kept using underhanded methods to scheme against me. Subsequently, you lured the scarlet-eyed blood bats and almost caused everyone to die. Next was to push me down the cliff, and now, you attempted to disrupt my refining of armament. I'm the type who dislike to owe debts, and I hate people who owe me anything. Tell me, how should I get even with you?" Murong and I felt a chill down her spine. "Don't come over, what do you want to do? Don't forget, I'm a 4th degree realm practitioner and you're just at the 1st degree realm. I have with me plenty of protection aces from my daddy. If you dare to do anything to me, you will come to no good end too, ace. You won't have any chance to use it," Huang Yueli coldly taunted. "You can also listen on." Murong and I was appalled to the max and knew that she cannot hesitate further. Her fingers dug deep into her realm ring, drew out something and threw it towards Huang Yueli. Even though her action was pretty fast, Huang Yueli was faster. Before Murong and I had a chance to strike, she felt her feet were unsteady as if something had tugged at her. Subsequently she plopped onto the ground. The profound artifact that she held in her hands dropped onto the ground. Has no one ever told you that you should never provoke an armament master in their territory, or else you will die terribly? An armament master's nest was always filled with plenty of mechanisms, so most practitioners do not dare to barge in without permission. This array's boundaries naturally were Huang Yueli's territory. Surrounding it were some little mechanisms. Murong and I had dared to take action against her at this type of place, so she would have a terrible ending. Huang Yueli walked over and bent down to pick up that item. It was a delicate ball-shaped profound artifact. The entire thing was dazzling with the radiance of the rainbow colors and looked exquisite. But in actual fact, this was a very powerful profound artifact and was extremely dangerous. Huang Yueli naturally recognized this. The rainbow profound photosphere, a photosphere which condenses attack power of 7 different profound energy. It can only be used once and the intensity depends on the tier of the artifact. This is a 7th tier profound photosphere, and so, just one attack is enough to launch the power of a 7th degree realm practitioner. It's no wonder you're the daughter of a big sect. This thing is worth lots of silver. You know about this too. Of course, I'm an armament master. Murong and your memory is really bad. Murong bit her lips. Let me go and return the profound photosphere to me. I will let you off. Huang Yueli gave her a surprised look and chuckled. Do you think I'm dumb? Do I need to let you off? Think carefully about how you're going to beg me for mercy. As Huang Yueli was talking, under the embittered gaze of Murong and she calmly kept the rainbow profound photosphere into her own realm ring. She was sighing in her heart, a daughter from a reputable sect is just rich. This 7th tier rainbow profound photosphere was worth a fortune and they just gave it to this brainless junior. But it was because of this that she could make a small fortune out of it. Huang Yueli kept the profound photosphere and bent over to pick up a long whip. This whip was Murong Ni's weapon and it was a 4th tier upper grade profound weapon. She pleaded with the sect's most powerful elderly armament master to refine it for her when she reached her marriageable age. It used up a lot of valuable and rare materials and had always been her favorite. Seeing Huang Yueli pick up the whip, she stared till her eyeballs were about to fall out. That is my whip. How dare you snatch my whip? Huang Yueli took the whip and brandished it several times to test the feel of it and lightly laughed lightly. This kind of 4th tier item, I'm not interested, so don't worry, I'll return you the whip after I'm done. Who are you trying to cheat? Once you laid your hands on such a good profound armament, would you return it? Lay it down if you have the ability. Huang Yueli's lips curled upwards and with a deep meaning, she replied, I'm not bluffing you. The reason why I'm holding it is not because I've taken a liking to it, but entirely because I want to wallop you. Murong and heard the words and fell into a daze. Before she had yet to come around it, Huang Yueli had already raised the whip and struck it towards her face. Pow! Ah! Yueli! You dare! Murong Ni's face instantly flashed a deep and long bloody scar, causing her to scream in pain on the spot. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli's wrist roused and without stopped, another whip was struck out. Tell me if I dare to or not. Pow! 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 One lash after another, Huang Yueli continuously struck without stopping. The method that Huang Yueli struck was extremely vicious. She specially struck the extremely painful positions. Just a few lashes and Murong and was already rolling around in pain, her tears kept flowing. However, Murong Ni's feet were clasped tightly by Huang Yueli's trap, held tightly by the iron chain. There was no way to struggle free, so she could only roll around with no escape route. You be *****H. How dare you treat me in this way? My father will never let you off. Help, help. 5th brother, save me. Woo, Miss Yuli, I'm in the wrong. please let me off." Murong and I couldn't stop screeching. Initially she used her status in an attempt to press Huang Yueli, but when she realized she didn't even bother about this, she attempted to look for Luo Jiyun for help. However, Luo Jiyun had entered the tent to look after Li Moying, so he didn't pay any attention to this area. Besides that, this array was soundproof, so her cries for help did not reach him. After that, she finally gave up and couldn't care less about her face and continued to ask for mercy. Huang Yueli sneered, "Stop using your father to scare me, I'm educating his daughter a lesson." Obstinate, conceited, self-centered, full of malicious schemes, but yet you don't have the equivalent ability and discernment, you deserve a lesson. Today I will let you know that no matter who makes a mistake, that person deserves to pay the price. "Help, help," Huang Yueli lashed out viciously, but she managed to do it in a way where she didn't faint. Murong and I could only continue to struggle. Blood stains appeared everywhere on her entire body, her clothes were shredded to pieces, almost unable to cover up. Just at this moment, the sky echoed a weird sound. It sounded like the wind, like the sound of some huge flying magical beast flapping its wings. Following that was the appearance of a large shadow. The rays above were slowly dimmed as if something was blocking the sky. Huang Yueli sensed this strange predicament, stopped whipping and looked up. She only saw that afar was a huge flying ship of at least over 10 meters, flying steadily towards their direction. Flying ship was a commonly seen flying profound artifact of at least 8 tier and above. The construction was vast and generally required a few armament masters of 8 tier and above to work together for a duration of at least a year or more before its completion. This type of flying ship was absolutely not something that commoners could use. Even among the 9th degree realm top practitioners, there were few who had the fortunes. Generally it would be those big sects who had accumulated the fortunes for several thousands of years before they could afford a few fleets. And generally only when the sect master or elderly seniors set off on a long journey, then will it be used. Upon hearing the noise, Luo Jiyun excitedly ran out and used all his might to wave his hands towards the direction of the flying ship. The people on board the ship had apparently seen him and slowly descended towards the empty field in front of the profound lunar jade mine. Huang Yueli raised her brows, and in her heart, she had already some understanding. From the looks of it, this flying ship was from the sect that Li Moying belonged to. It should be here to receive him. Outside the array, Luo Jiyun's face was filled with smiles as he stood out to receive them. "This is great, Brother Moe, senior brother should be fine. We are really lucky today. The profound lunar spirit mirror that sister-in-law refined is effective and looks like senior brother is going to regain his consciousness anytime soon. Now the someone from the sect has arrived, we can take the flying ship back immediately. This time, there shouldn't be any more problems. You can also listen on." Moe heard Luo Jiyun, but his reaction wasn't as enthusiastic. Instead he frowned. He didn't know if he had thought too deeply, but Moe had the feeling that things wouldn't be as smooth as what Luo Jiyun thought. He simply replied, "Young Master Luo, let's go over and take a look." The flying ship stopped steadily in front of them and a flight of stairs slowly descended. A pack of people walked out from the ship. The minute he saw the leader of the pack, Luo Jiyun's expression fell. Why is it him?" he murmured in a low voice, but unknowingly the other party heard him. The leader of the pack curled up his lips and said, "Fifth junior brother, what is it? You don't seem to be too happy to see me. Don't you know how to greet me? Or could it be that after you've gone out on a journey with senior brother, you have forgotten how to spell the word courtesy?" Luo Jiyun was extremely unhappy with his sarcastic words, but he didn't dare to defy him. He could only lower his head as he walked over and greeted him. "Second senior brother, long time no see. Why did you come over today?" The man who was known as second senior brother by Luo Jiyun looked refined and handsome. The long green robe that he was wearing gave out an elegant and graceful feel and some delicateness. If one had not known the truth, they would never have thought that he was an extremely powerful practitioner. His voice was soft, and when he talked, his tone was gentle. He was the total opposite of Li Moying, who gave out a pressurizing feel with just a glance. Even so, Luo Jiyun, Moe, and the rest did not dare to slight him. That man looked deeply at Luo Jiyun and said, "Fifth junior brother. You don't welcome me." No, it's just that. I heard from the elders that you had gone to Sky Emperor City to gain experience and you had the intention to sign up for some competition, so I thought you would be gone for quite some time. Too bad, I've let you down. Something happened to senior brother, so no matter what, I should make this trip down personally. What's more, the annual sect competition is about to start, so teacher and the rest are very busy. How could they be alarmed by such a small matter? So naturally. I'm the only one who can come over. Luo Jiyun was wailing bitterly in his heart and felt that he was super unlucky. After Li Moying fainted, he hurriedly sent out a SOS order to the sect. This special tablet could only be used once and only the core disciples would bring it with them. Usually, only when they met with a life and death situation then would this be used. Once the sect received this safety call for help, they would immediately send out their elders for assistance. Li Moying had one tablet with him, and his carried the most weight. This was because he carried with him the entire sect's expectations, so if he were to fall into trouble, it was natural that the sect master would personally come forward to rescue him. Luo Jiyun had thought it would be a certain elder, or even their teacher. Who knew, the person who came was the second senior brother, who was most disagreeable with Li Moying. This was the weirdest part. Where on earth did he receive their rescue order? And how did he manage to convince the sect's elders to allow him to bring his force to come forward? Even so, Luo Jiyun didn't dare to express his thoughts. Second senior brother, listen to what you're saying. Of course it's great that you came. The man opened his eyelids and his handsome face expression a gentle smile. What exactly happened to senior brother? This seems to be the first time he sent out a rescue order to the sect. To think that with his ability, he still requested for help, so the trouble he has met with must not be something small. You can also listen on. Momentarily, Luo Jiyun didn't know where to start from and started hemming and hawing. Yes. We met with a bit of trouble, his thoughts kept swirling around. Li Moying and this second senior brother, Li Lingchuan, had never been able to get along, with plenty of tussles between the two of them. Li Lingchuan had chosen to appear at this timing, and since no one knew his motive, should he tell the truth about Li Moying's current condition? But if he didn't say and delayed Li Moying's condition, it would result in serious consequences. If he were to tell, how much should he reveal? Just as Luo Jiyun was hesitating, Li Lingchuan was already looking in the direction behind him. I never thought that senior brother would send out the rescue order since his subordinates are around. It seems that things are not as simple as I thought. Let me guess, could it be that senior brother's illness has acted up again? Luo Jiyun had not expected him to make an accurate guess, so he was dumbstruck. However, silence means consent. Li Lingchuan's lips curled into a smile and he continued, it's not the first time senior brother had left the sect for such a long period of time. His symptoms acting up doesn't seem that often, but this round, obviously there's a reason for it. Let me guess, was senior brother surrounded by magical beasts in the Dark Moon Forest and sustained some serious injury? Luo Jiyun remained silent. Although Li Lingchuan's innate skill was not as deep as Li Moying, he had always been shrewd and deep. People like him were often smarter than the straightforward person like Luo Jiyun. He only needed to observe the actions and tone and he could roughly guess the situation. It was impossible for Luo Jiyun to play mind games with him. Li Lingchuan looked at his expression and knew he was right, so he smiled and continued, what's the matter? Fifth junior brother, why won't you say a word? Did I guess wrongly? Senior brother is actually fine. Why won't he come out and meet me then? Senior brother is, what happened to him? Has he remained unconscious ever since his symptoms acted up? It's best that you explain the situation to me clearly, otherwise I don't know how I can help you. Luo Jiyun took a deep breath and he knew he could not hide Li Moying's condition any further, so he could only briefly brush through it. Second, senior brother, your guess is correct. Senior brother had indeed gotten into an accident and sustained some injuries. Subsequently his illness acted up until now he has yet to come around. I'm a bit worried, so I used the safety order. Li Lingchuan's expression was unfathomable as he stretched out his hand and patted Luo Jiyun on his shoulder. I see, what's there to hide? In this case, senior brother is still inside the tent. Let me go in and take a look. Saying that, Li Lingchuan took a few big strides past Luo Jiyun and proceeded into the tent. Luo Jiyun frowned with an unsettling feeling in his heart as he turned back and looked at Moe. Moe shook his head at him and said, Young Master Luo, don't worry. Although Master has yet to wake up, but no one can hurt him. What's more, not everyone on the flying ship are young Master Li's men. Unless he kills all of us, otherwise, he wouldn't dare to take action under so many pairs of eyes. Luo Jiyun felt slightly relieved and followed closely into the tent. Once Li Lingchuan saw Li Moying, his faces showed traces of surprise. He had originally thought that based on past cases, after Li Moying's symptoms acted up, the entire condition would be extremely terrible. Including the fact that it had acted up in the Dark Moon Forest, they didn't have time to make much preparations, he should be at least half dead. But who knew, Li Moying looked like he was doing well. You can also listen on. Li Moying quietly laid on the beast's skin, and although he was unconscious, his complexion looked normal, his breathing was stable and the center of his eyebrows reflected a peaceful look. If he had not known about his condition beforehand, he would have thought that he was just sleeping. Li Lingchuan raised his eyebrows and stretched out his hand. He had yet to reach Li Moying before he was stopped by Moe. Young Master Li, Master is very weak now, so he cannot be disturbed. Please allow us servants to do the manual tasks such as carrying or taking care of him. Your Master's junior brother, so your status is very distinguished. You would probably not have any experience in tasks such as taking care of others. A blunt but reasonable conversation. Most people would probably not insist further. But not only did Li Lingchuan not retract his hand, he retorted, how did the few of you take care of senior brother? As his subordinates, you didn't risk your lives to protect him. Senior brother is so heavily injured and yet the few of you are not harmed at all. You still dare to claim you know how to take care of others. All of you, get lost, you're not in a position to talk. Moe, Mo Air and Mo San stood in front of Li Moying and refused to budge. Li Lingchuan's eyes flashed a sliver of coldness and the qi he released caused Moe and the rest to turn pale instantly. They were just in the 5th degree realm, but Li Lingchuan was a genuine 6th degree realm practitioner. Not only was Li Lingchuan's cultivation higher than them, he had alarming innate skills in terms of profound skill and cultivation method. If it wasn't for the fact that he had met the evildoer like Li Moying, in the South Sky region, he would be labeled as a super genius that could only be found in every 100 years. Get lost. You useless fools who cannot even protect your master, he shouted sternly. The oppressing power of high-level practitioners were extremely powerful. Every word he spat out felt like 1,000 grams of weight, weighing heavily on their chests, causing their blood to boil to the extent of spitting out blood. But Moe and the rest didn't step back. Li Lingchuan started to worry. He had hurried over because he knew Li Moying was weak now and his soul damage was extremely critical. Once there were hiccups in his recuperation stage, it would lead to a long-term damage, and if it was serious enough, he might not be able to cultivate further. If he were to make some small moves, even if something were to happen to Li Moying, they would not be able to find any evidence. Li Lingchuan had thought that since Li Moying set off the rescue order, his subordinates should have been seriously injured, so whatever he had planned to do could be easily done. He didn't expect that not only were Moe and the rest not injured, they were loyally blocking his way. Now things took a turn and it was not as easy as he thought. If he were to take action, unless he killed everyone and not leave any witness, otherwise if the actions were to flow to the sect master's ears, he would get into big trouble. Li Lingchuan's thoughts turned quickly as he let out a cold grin. How dare you block me? If it wasn't for you who didn't protect senior brother, how would he get injured? Men, drag these useless fools who got senior brother into trouble away. Whoever dares to resist will be counted as betrayal to the sect. Don't blame me if my subordinates don't show any mercy. He had pinned a charge on Moe and the rest, so that he could get his men to hold them back. Even if his subordinates' cultivation levels were not as high as Moe, but now that Li Moying was unconscious, if Moe dared to resist against Li Lingchuan, it would be counted as insubordination. By then Li Lingchuan would have a legitimate reason to kill them all. Moe and the rest realized his intentions and their faces turned pale instantly. They had never expected Li Lingchuan to be so vicious and scheming. The few of them were willing to throw their lives away for Li Moying, but if Li Moying were to fall into the hands of Li Lingchuan, what should they do? You can also listen on. Just at this critical moment, a clear voice echoed from outside of the tent. Stop! Who dares to touch Moe and the rest? Everyone looked towards the door with query. The slender and graceful figure who slowly walked in was Huang Yueli. Even though she had constantly rushed around and refined armaments for 7 days continuously, her clothes were dirty and her face showed signs of tiredness, her eyes were clear and penetrative and there was nothing to pick on her dignified temperament. When Li Lingchuan first looked at her, his eyes brightened. His vision was different from the rest. On first look, he could tell that this juvenile-looking lady was not simple. Luo Jiyun, Moe, and the rest fretted when they saw Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli appearing in front of Li Lingchuan was not a good matter. Li Moying was still unconscious and he could not protect her. If Li Lingchuan had wanted to use her to attack Li Moying, there was nothing anyone could do to stop him. The few of them used eye contacts to hint Huang Yueli for her to leave quickly. Even though their eyes were going to cramp up, Huang Yueli appeared as if she had not seen anything. Her footsteps slowly but steadily walked closer. Li Lingchuan's gaze stopped on her, and as he watched her walk in front of him, his eyes reflected an undetectable interest. Who are you? Why did you stop my men from taking action? He looked at the immobile Li Moying, then looked at Huang Yueli, and when he opened his mouth to speak, he used an unsuspecting tone to test her. Don't tell me, you're one of the women who admires senior brother. Huang Yueli indifferently swept a glance at him and said, I am not. I am Li Moying's fiancé. What? Senior brother has a fiancé. Her words gave him a big shock. That's right. I'm Li Moying's fiancé, Moe, and the other's future mistress. Li Moying is unconscious, so they must listen to my orders. Who are you to lay orders on other people's subordinates? Li Lingchuan's eyes squinted as he stared at Huang Yueli for a while. He suddenly thought of something and slowly let out a smile. You are senior brother's fiancé. I think you must be thinking too much. The women who admire senior brother are plentiful. A woman like you, in terms of looks, you're just above average. In terms of innate skill, the distance is heaven and earth. He will be willing to get engaged with you. Do you think that since he's unconscious, you can pretend to be his fiancé? He was clearer than anyone on Li Moying's luck with ladies. The women who chased him were countless. Every other day there would be someone who claimed to be his fiancé, and without a doubt, every single claim was fake. This was one of the main reasons why Li Lingchuan could not stand Li Moying. He was obviously the charming handsome man, but he paled in comparison when he stood beside Li Moying. In the eyes of those ladies was only Li Moying. However, Li Moying had an expression filled with coldness, rejecting all of them far, far away. He had broken countless hearts of these young ladies. Daughters from large sects with innate skills that high, looks that beautiful and their parentage so elegant, however Li Moying could never find anyone suitable. How would he ever choose someone as common as Huang Yueli? Li Lingchuan naturally categorized Huang Yueli as one of those who admired Li Moying. In order to stop him from bringing Moe and the rest away, she had jumped out as an imposter. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli smiled slightly. Really? There are so many women who likes my Li Moying. But too bad, he's already engaged to me, so the other women have no chance at all. Li Lingchuan's eyes rolled upwards. When he didn't smile, he looked slightly sinister. He stared at Huang Yueli's eyes and shook his head. Miss, I think it's better for you to stop pretending. Did you think you're helping him? Li Moying won't thank you for this. When he wakes up and realizes that you're imposing as his fiancé, he'd be very angry. He has never been known to show tenderness to any woman. Huang Yueli pouted secretly, her heart gave a tingling feeling. Why did Li Moying have so many rotten romances? It wasn't only that blind lass, Murong and I who secretly admired him, there were always people who hinted that she didn't match up to him. What was wrong? If it wasn't Li Moying who pestered her first, she wouldn't even bother about him. But this was not the time to haggle over this. Huang Yueli shook off the distracting thoughts and calmly said, I'm not lying to you. Li Moying and I are absolutely fiancé and fiancée. I'm sure you know that Li Moying's biological father is the Emperor of South Yu Kingdom and I am the fiancé whom his father had selected. If you don't believe, you may ask Moe and the rest. Li Lingchuan heard her clear and logical narration and turned his head suspiciously to glare at Moe and the rest. Moe immediately replied, Master had personally introduced third miss was his unwed fiancée. For the duration that Master was unconscious, we heeded third miss's orders. Li Lingchuan raised his eyebrows, and had a surprised look. Moe and the rest were very loyal to Li Moying. So even if it was a ruse, they would never succumb to randomly acknowledging anyone as their mistress. Since they have already spoken, then it should be real, but to be honest, I really can't tell which part of you could attract such a high-sided man like Li Moying, and for him to personally acknowledge you as him fiancé, Li Lingchuan sneered. Huang Yueli's expression remained unchanged. For that part, I won't need junior brother, you to worry about that. But is that the attitude that you should use and talk to your future sister-in-law? Li Lingchuan started laughing when he heard that. Ha ha ha, you have got guts. Did you really think that just because of his parents' orders, you can get married to senior brother? I'll have you know that with Li Moying's status, his marriage has to go through the sex consent. Based on your status and innate skill, there's no way you can be his proper wife. At most you'd be made a concubine. As a concubine, do you think you're worthy of me greeting you as sister-in-law? Listening to him ridiculing Huang Yueli, the expression on Luo Jian's face changed and he charged outwards. Don't you dare say that about sister-in-law. Senior brother has already said, Miss you will get married to him. Li Lingchuan glared sternly at him, looks like you've been bought over by this lass. As one of the direct inherited disciples from a reputable sect, greeting a country bumpkin as sister-in-law. Whatever next? Men, bring young Master Luo onto the ship and let him calm down. Reflect on your mistake. A few bodyguards surrounded and pressed Luo Jiyun down. Luo Jiyun had intended to resist, but Li Lingchuan released a strike of profound energy directly at his chest, causing him to spit out blood on the spot. This scene came as a shock to Huang Yueli. Li Lingchuan's cultivation wasn't bad at all. Looks like even if Mo Yi and the rest worked together, they would not be his opponent at all. Seems like Li Moying is in deep trouble this round. You can also listen on. Although Huang Yueli was worried on the inside, her face still showed calmness and her spoke in a gentle tone, "Junior brotherly, you're not following the rules in this way." Although Li Lingchuan's smile was gentle but his expression was totally cold. "Miss Yu, I've already said, you're not qualified to greet me as junior brother. It's right and proper that I'm teaching my junior brother a lesson, it's not your turn to butt in." Hearing that, Huang Yueli's smile disappeared and she said coldly, "I think the one who doesn't have the authority is you. Your senior brother is still here. If it was to teach junior brother a lesson, that should be his matter. Does he need you to meddle in his affairs?" Li Lingchuan's gaze froze. "Senior brother is currently unconscious, so I'm fulfilling my obligation as a senior brother. What I'm doing is for his own good. Even if senior brother awoke, he would not say I'm in the wrong." Huang Yueli raised her head and looked at him on equal footing. "What if Li Moying has already awoken?" "What do you mean?" Li Lingchuan paused momentarily. Huang Yueli replied, "It is what is. Li Moying had already awoken earlier in the morning and it's because he's overly tired, so I specially fed him pills that can aid him in his sleep, so that he can recuperate in peace. However, we didn't expect you to suddenly appear. I had originally thought that since you're Li Moying's junior brother, naturally you will make proper arrangements and not disturb him. But who knew, you took matters into your hands with no respect for him. The powder I've fed him is the respite powder. If you dare to touch him and he wakes up and flies into a rage, even I won't be able to stop him." Her face was peaceful as she used a calming tone to talk. The respite powder was a commonly seen tranquilizer, often used when a practitioner was recuperating from their injuries. It was an inexpensive first-level mid-quality medication. When this medication was taken, it would aid in sleep and hasten the speed in recuperation of wounds. The best part was no matter how noisy the surroundings were, it would have no effect on the patient. However, once there was external contact to the body, even if it was just a light touch, it would make patient to wake up in shock. When Huang Yueli said these, Li Lingchuan's brows indistinguishably twitched. His stare towards Huang Yueli became extremely sharp and cold, as if it was a blade shooting towards the space in the middle of her eyebrows. "You're talking as if it's real. Did you think that based on those few sentences, I'd believe you? Whenever Li Moying's condition acted up, didn't he always require at least half a month before he wakes up? What you're saying was just to scare me off." Li Lingchuan's gaze turned swift and fierce, his profound energy emitting out. The huge oppression caused Luo Jiyun, Moe, and the rest to turn pale. However, Huang Yueli didn't seem to have any adverse reaction, her expression and talking were as per normal, as though she wasn't facing any sixth-degree realm expert, but just an ordinary person. She laughingly said, "Since you think I'm bluffing, why don't you go over and test it out for yourself?" Saying that, she turned Moe, Mo-san, "All three of you, stop blocking the way." Although his recovery will be slightly affected by this lack of sleep, but once he boards the ship, he can continue sleeping. "All of you please move away and allow Junior Brotherly to take a look. Otherwise he will think that you have caused the death of his senior brother." Her smiling eyes swept across them and after a moment of hesitation, Moe and the rest heeded her words and took 2 steps aside. Seeing this, Li Lingchuan's smile slowly wiped away. He gazed deeply at Huang Yueli, Moe, and the rest, considering and hesitating on his next step to take. You can also listen on. By right, Li Moying's soul should be damaged and he should be unconscious. But after Huang Yueli's deliberate narration, Li Lingchuan started to feel doubts. Because Li Moying's condition looked different from usual. In the past, after his condition acted up, his entire face would turn green and purple. Just one look and you would know that he was seriously injured. But today, he looked like he was just sleeping. This scenario had never happened before in the past. Huang Yuelate saw that he didn't give any reaction, shrugged her shoulders and said laughingly, "Junior brotherly, didn't you think that I was lying? Then what are you hesitating for? Quickly go over. If he was really unconscious due to his illness, he shouldn't wake up no matter how you shake him." Hearing Huang Yuelate said these, Moe and the rest sweated profusely, anxious till their heartbeat nearly stopped. Master's future wife's guts was extraordinary. This type of words she had dared to keep repeating. If Li Lingchuan was agitated by what she said and he really went over to touch Li Moying, then the entire scenario would fail and by then, the few of them would have no place to hide. However, compared to their frightened looks, Huang Yueli's expression was calm and collected. A sarcastic smile was hanging by her mouth as if she was purposely provoke the other party. The more she acted in this way, the more suspicious Li Lingchuan became, and the more he couldn't get what she was up to. If she was really lying to him, he only needed to move one finger to expose her. This last was just in first-degree realm, would she dare to make up such a big lie? But if it's true... To be honest, Li Lingchuan didn't have the guts to provoke the conscious Li Moying. Even if he was seriously injured, the minute he woke up, it was enough to intimidate whoever who was using the opportunity to stir things up. Li Lingchuan had long experienced several terrifying times when Li Moying flew into a rage. Li Lingchuan was hesitant and Huang Yueli became even more pleased with herself. "Moe, please go and pack our things from the surroundings. I had asked you all to handle the scarlet-eyed blood bat's corpses, have you settled it yet? Don't forget to bring along those materials. Moe, don't forget the barbecue sauce that I gave you the other time. I took an entire month to marinate that one bottle, so if it's lost, we'd have nothing else to eat. Mo-san, please pack up the items outside the tent and check if the stretcher is tough enough. When you're carrying your master later, be gentler and don't awake him." Seeing that this ordinary little lass not scared of his own power, Li Lingchuan went into deep thoughts. He had never seen anyone being able to command Li Moying's bodyguards before. Huang Yueli actually managed to tame them. Could it possibly be that she really was Li Moying's fiancé and Li Moying was indeed just sleeping? If that was the case, he shouldn't go and disturb the tiger in its den, and since matters have yet to blow up, he should quickly pack up and leave. Just at this moment, the tent's hanging screen was pulled open. Second. Senior brother, don't be fooled by this slut, Yuli. Her mouth doesn't contain any real words. This voice sounded extremely familiar and everyone turned to take a look. Murong and I appeared at the entrance. Her entire face was filled with blood and she could barely stand. Her fingers were gripping tightly against the sides of the tent to stabilize herself and her eyes were filled with hatred, staring daggers at Huang Yueli. You can also listen on. Li Lingchuan almost couldn't recognize her. Murong and I looked very different from her usual unruly but dazzling appearance. In his wildest dreams, he'd never expected the junior sister who had been pampered to the skies by everyone in the sect, to appear before him in such a pathetic sight. Although his heart was filled with shock, as he was well known for not showing any expressions. So he merely creased his eyebrows slightly. Junior sister, what caused you to become like this? Anne. You know this miss you. Is she really senior brother's fiancée? No. She's absolutely not. How would senior brother choose her? She's just another slut who is harassing senior brother. She took the opportunity and colluded with Moe and the rest when senior brother was unconscious, to harm me. Murong and I started screeching. Second senior brother, look at how pitiful I am, to have been bullied by her. All these injuries on me are caused by her. You must help me to redress my injustice. Murong and I fell onto the ground crying hysterically, at the top of her voice. That stance was as if she had met her family. But Li Lingchuan was indeed considered as her family. Although Li Lingchuan and Li Moying were on loggerheads, secretly fighting over the future sect master's position for many years, but towards the sect master's youngest daughter, they took good care of her. Li Moying was only giving face to the sect master, so he was tolerant towards Murong Ni's behavior. Li Lingchuan was different. He had secretly admired Murong Ni's sister, Murong Fei, for a long time, so in association, he treated this future sister-in-law well too. Li Lingchuan looked at Murong Ni's pathetic sight. He felt astonished and a little difficult to believe Murong Ni's words. No matter how he looked at this Miss Yu, she was just a first-degree realm practitioner. And since she came from a small country like the South Yu Kingdom, he estimated that she didn't have any good profound artifacts on her. On the other hand, Murong and I was the daughter of a reputable sect, her cultivation is much higher and she had a survival trump card. What ability did Huang Yueli have to bully Murong and I to such a state? He frowned. Was it really this Miss Yu who did this to you? Why did she have the audacity to do this to you? Is she really senior brother's fiancée? No, I already said she's not. Murong and I stamped her feet in rage. This vixen used some underhanded methods to seduce senior brother and almost caused him to die. In order to save her, senior brother was seriously injured by the magical beast and later on was the full moon's night. His symptoms suddenly acted up and his wounds on his back erupted. Senior brother was so seriously injured that since the full moon's night, he had been unconscious and have yet to awaken. Second senior brother, don't be hoodwinked by her. Since Li Lingchuan already knew in his heart the truth, naturally he wouldn't be swayed any further. He looked at the calm and collected Huang Yueli and couldn't help but feel some bits of admiration for her. Although this lass's cultivation wasn't much, her guts, however, was something above the others. As compared to those experts who were much higher levels than her, she didn't bat an eyelid when plotting her scheme, nor did she appear flustered when she was exposed, as if she had a high chance of success. This bearing was truly worthy of being the woman behind the king. It was no wonder that Li Moying had good foresight and chose her. Li Lingchuan couldn't help but stared at her a couple more times before he spoke. Indeed, I don't believe you. No matter what you say to cheat me, I'm not going to believe it. Be it true or false, I'll know once I touch him. Saying that, he couldn't care less about Huang Yueli's reaction and took a big stride forward towards where Li Moying laid. Moe and the rest had just heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that Huang Yueli had Li Lingchuan fooled, but who knew the sudden appearance of Murong and I turned the entire situation around. As Li Lingchuan walked nearer and nearer, everyone started to fall into despair. Looked like there was really no hope this round. Luo Jiyun had long been held down by Li Lingchuan's subordinates, so he could only helplessly look at Li Lingchuan moving forward. He couldn't bear to see what will happen next, so he shut his eyes and waited for that moment to happen. But the laughter that he had expected to hear from Li Lingchuan did not surface. There was a sudden loud bang in the tent, followed by Li Lingchuan gritting his teeth as he said, "Damn it." Huang Yueli shouted at the top of her lungs, "What are you guys waiting for? Quickly take action. Moe, carry your master and everyone else rush out of the tent." There seemed to be something weird about this scenario. Luo Jiyun stared in astonishment as a row of traps suddenly arose in front of where Li Moying laid and Li Lingchuan had fallen onto the ground. Huang Yueli was holding a thunder flame ball in her hand and threw it directly towards Li Lingchuan's face. I'd long said this, when you're in your grandaunt's array, that means you're in my turf. Trying to stir up trouble in an armament master's turf, you must be tired of living, she mumbled to herself as she pulled a face at Li Lingchuan. Although her words were pretty, but deep down in Huang Yueli's heart, she knew clearly that based on Li Lingchuan's power, she was not able to trap him at all. It was because Li Lingchuan had not expected her to secretly activate her traps and he was caught unawares, that was why he fell into her trap. Even so, they didn't have much time. Luckily, Moe and the rest reacted very quickly. The minute they saw Li Lingchuan's figure falter and fell downwards, they took action immediately. Moe rushed forward and dragging the stretcher, he flew towards the outside of the tent. Moe and Mo San coordinated with Huang Yueli's Thunder Flame Ball and released their strongest attack towards Li Lingchuan. In a moment, flames filled the surroundings and the entire tent was blown up into the sky. Everyone knew they were not Li Lingchuan's opponent, so they didn't dare to engage in a long battle. After they have struck their moves, they turned and ran off immediately. When Luo Jiyun saw this, he suddenly felt energized and the internal injury which was dealt by Li Lingchuan didn't hurt anymore. He immediately coordinated with Moe, cast aside the surrounding bodyguards and dashed out with Huang Yueli. Although their actions were fast, Li Lingchuan wasn't slow at all. At the very moment that he fell, he subconsciously noted that he had been schemed once again, by the innocent-looking lass. You can also listen on. Li Lingchuan had wanted to get back on his feet, but he suffered the attack of the thunder flame balls that Huang Yueli had threw out next. H had never expected Huang Yueli to throw out a 5th-tier profound artifact, and so many at one go. Adding on the obstructions of Moe and Mo San, all he could do was to defend himself. But this sort of attack could only stop him from chasing up to them, and not seriously injure them. So once the Thunder Flame Ball's attacks had halted, Li Lingchuan's expression was filled with fury and he arose immediately. Huang Yueli's speed was the slowest amongst all of them. When Moe turned back, he saw Li Lingchuan's shadow pouncing towards Huang Yueli and he couldn't help but shout, "Third miss, be careful." Li Lingchuan sneered, trying to escape. Just based on your first-degree realm speed, are you able to escape? There's no woman who dares to play a trick on me. Don't you even think of... Before he could complete his sentence, he suddenly, thud, and fell onto the ground again. And this round, he fell even more seriously than the previous time. The reason was because the previous time it was a small obstacle that tripped him, but this round. Li Lingchuan clenched his teeth as he raised his head, and in front of him appeared a large area of faint blue light array pattern. Before Huang Yueli started refining the armament, she laid a beast diversion array around the tent surroundings, with the initial intent of preventing magical beasts from attacking Li Moying and the rest. But now, since everyone had ran out of the tent, she took the opportunity to activate the array and trap Li Lingchuan in the boundaries of the array. As Li Lingchuan had not expected her to plan this, he used his fastest speed and chased them with his might. With such an incredible speed, the force that was used to bang onto the boundary of the array was no different from banging into a wall. Just thinking about it made one feel extreme pain. This scene left Luo Jiyun, Moe, and the rest dumbstruck. After a while, Luo Jiyun spoke, "Sister-in-law. You are really too black-bellied and too resourceful. You can even think of this." Moe spoke out too. Young Master Li doesn't seem to have taken such a big disadvantage before, and this round he had to fall in the hand of a woman whose cultivation level is lower than him by that much. I gauge that he should be mad with fury. Moe and Mo San laughed out loud. Huang Yueli's expression remained heavy. Don't be happy so soon. My array was not mean for defense, so if he spends some time on it, he will be able to break it. It can only stop him for a quarter of an hour. We must get on the flying ship immediately before he breaks out of the array and clear everyone on the ship out, and fly off. That's right, what Third Miss is saying is true. We must make haste. Quick, everyone follow up. Upon hearing Huang Yueli's words, everyone stopped laughing and hurriedly sped towards the flying ship. Li Lingchuan saw the direction they were running to and guessed what they were thinking. He felt a sense of urgency and fury. As he drew out his long spear, while attacking the array to break out, he couldn't help but to start cursing. Sly and cunning woman. Just wait and see, don't you fall into my hands. The rest of you don't even think of escaping. There is no way for all of you to escape today. However, his voice was blocked out by the soundproof features of the array, so it could not be heard from the outside. Huang Yueli and the rest had took the opportunity and rushed up the flying ship. There were few people on the flying ship and they were all brought over by Li Lingchuan from the sect. Some of they remained loyal to Li Lingchuan and started attacking the party. However, the powerful ones were trapped in the array along with Li Lingchuan, and those left on the ship were not the strongest. You can also listen on. Moe and the rest settled the remaining resistance, and those remaining, although they didn't strike, Huang Yueli was worried that there might be some spies who had mixed themselves into the crowd. Moe listened to her instructions and hesitated. Third miss, this is a flying ship. The ship will require a number of crew. If we were to clear everyone, I'm afraid there is no way this ship will be able to proceed. Huang Yueli's glance swept past everyone on the deck and she casually pointed as she said, I don't trust these few people, you must make them leave the ship. The positions they are occupying are not important, I can arrange for someone to fill in their places. Don't worry, even if the flying ship was short of some people, it will still move. Don't hesitate any further, I can tell that. Li Lingchuan is going to break out of the array anytime now. On the campsite not too far away, the sound of the tremors vibrated strongly and the ground was in a mess. Apparently the array would not last for a couple more breaths' time and was going to be broken very soon. Moe didn't hesitate further and hurriedly followed her instructions and chased those people whom Huang Yueli had picked down the ship. The remaining people on board quickly assume your positions and drive the ship now. However, it was too late. As a loud rumble sounded, Huang Yueli's array was broken to smithereens and a huge force caused the ship to vibrate. Go quickly. Huang Yueli clenched her teeth as she urged them. Li Lingchuan pointed his spear and snarled, want to escape? Impossible. You will have to all stay behind. Whoever dares to fly the boat, when you get on, I'll kill you all. He sped forward and rushed towards the direction of the boat. The disciples had already prepared to start the boat, but when they saw the appearance of Li Lingchuan and heard his threat, momentarily no one dared to move. Huang Yueli gritted her teeth and attempted to steer the boat herself. However, her speed was simply too slow. Li Lingchuan flashed and appeared in front of her, blocking her way. On his handsome face was no longer that fake, peaceful look. In replacement was a sinister look with a cold glint fixating his glare on Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli didn't attempt to run as she knew escaping was not an option. She stopped her footsteps and coldly said, Junior Brotherly, may I ask what can I do for you? Do for me? No need. Li Lingchuan's smile was icy cold. I just realized that you and Li Moying are just as irksome. I believe now that you are really his fiancé. That's good. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared, let's all go on our separate ways and find our own mothers. Li Lingchuan glowered at her, it's too late for you to escape now. Since you've fallen into my hands, I will naturally take good care of you. Who asked you to be Li Moying's woman? What do you say, if I were to sleep with you? When he awakens, will he directly be angered till he enters the state of qi deviation? There wasn't a trace of panic seen on Huang Yueli even after she heard this threat. On the contrary, she calmly said, want to get me in your bed? I don't think you're quite there yet. When he heard what she had said, Li Lingchuan started laughing with rage. I shall show you now if I have such an ability. Saying that, his pale cold fingers started to reach towards Huang Yueli's delicate face. But before his fingertips could even reach Huang Yueli, he suddenly felt a painful sensation on his fingers. Ah! You can also listen on. Amidst the screeching, a finger drenched in blood flew towards the sky. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. It almost splattered onto Huang Yueli's face. She hurriedly turned her head to one side and avoided it. Following that, she heard a familiar, low-toned voice arising from her back. Li Lingchuan, we've not met for several months. It seems that you have grown some guts and placed your designs on my woman. Looking for death. Even though this vocal sounded hoarse and melancholy, it was obvious that the owner had yet to fully recover, as the feeling was different from normal times. But at this very moment, to be able to hear this voice that she had not heard for such a long time, an excited Huang Yueli covered her mouth and turned behind unbelievably. Li Moying's lofty figure appeared before her. There were signs of fatigue underneath his eyes, and due to dryness, some parts of his lips started to peel. But that extremely handsome face dazzled and captured all of her attention. Li Moying slowly walked over and put his arm around Huang Yueli's waist. Lowering his head, he gave a peck on her face. Huang Yueli was caught unawares and received his kiss directly, her face flushing with shyness. What timing was this now? This shameless lecher, Li Moying, actually calmly stole a kiss. And she hadn't seemed to allow him kissing her. But before she could protest, Li Moying had shifted his glance towards Li Lingchuan. What? You want to get my woman into your bed? Li Lingchuan felt a chilling sensation down his spine from that cold glance. Senior brother, this round, you woke up really quickly. Li Moying coldly replied, if I didn't wake up earlier, perhaps I might have lost my life, since even my fiancé have been watched by someone else. Misunderstanding. This was just a misunderstanding. Li Lingchuan's forehead slid down a few drops of sweat beads. Ever since Li Moying woke up, his vigor instantly reduced by a great deal and were showing signs of retreat. No one knew why Li Moying had such a strong overbearing force field. Even if Li Lingchuan thought highly of himself, felt that his power surpassed all the others and his innate skill excelled all others, but every single time he stood before Li Moying, he was instantly shortened by a head, completely unable to fight with him. Li Moying's glare was icy cold. A misunderstanding, yes, that's right. Unfortunately, I don't care if it's a misunderstanding or not, I only believe in what I see with my own eyes. I will not let off any man who dares to harbor any designs on Lear. On account that we are from the same sect, I shall spare your life for today. Get off the flying ship on your own. Li Moying's put it simply, but his motive was to get Li Lingchuan to get off by himself. Li Lingchuan was the next talent in line, after Li Moying, and his existence was like a star waiting to be born. However, only Li Moying never gave him any face. Li Lingchuan's expression changed instantly. But he didn't dare to show any signs of resistance. It was because, based on Li Moying's temper, he was already showing mercy when he didn't kill him on the spot. Pressurized by Li Moying's cold stare, step by step, Li Lingchuan walked towards the edge of the flying ship. Suddenly, his footsteps came to a halt. Something was wrong, something was extremely wrong. He had rushed over with the intention of harming Li Moying while he was seriously injured, and earlier he had clearly offended the little lass that Li Moying obviously pampered. By right, he should have already stepped on Li Moying's bottom line. When he killed, he would never be soft-hearted. But today, he didn't make any moves. Why was this so? Could it be, although he had regained his conscience, his injuries had yet to recover, so he actually didn't have the energy to fight it out? You can also listen on. Li Lingchuan's footsteps slowed down considerably, and in his heart, this thought kept swirling around. Li Moying didn't bother about him and shifted his glance back to Huang Yueli. He held Huang Yueli's waist and turned her towards him. With her face facing him, he stretched out his arm and cupping her face, a pair of ink-black eyes focused entirely on her. Huang Yueli's face blushed fiercely by that pair of bottomless pupils and couldn't help but push against his chest. "Hey, what are you looking at? Is my face dirty or something? Stop looking." Li Moying gave a gentle laugh. "Indeed it is dirty, like a little cat, as ugly as can be. Can't you feel it for yourself?" Huang Yueli immediately felt her rage flourished. This man was only cute when he was sleeping. When he was awake, he could make anyone throw up blood any time. Did he know how to talk properly? She finally managed to save him and helped him escape the danger zone several times. Now that he was finally awake, not only did he show gratitude, he actually said she was ugly. "Don't look if you think I'm ugly. Let me go." Huang Yueli stared at him. Li Moying's lips curled upwards and slowed lean towards her. "I'm not letting go. Although ugly, you are, after all, my woman, so I won't abandon you." His voice still sounded slightly hoarse, and when he spoke in his low-pitched voice, it contained another level of deep seduction, as if a small rock rubbing against the heart, causing Huang Yueli's heart to tremble. Subconsciously, she lifted her head and was sucked into a deep sea-like pupils. Those flawless features, his strong and deep presence could easily seduce any woman's heartstrings. Li Moying saw her expression of enrapturement, and his smile deepened. In the near distance, on the ship's railing, Li Lingchuan's footsteps had deliberately become slower, and even to a halt. He secretly turned to look at Li Moying and saw him and Huang Yueli in an embrace. He had never seen such a gentle expression before. That lass was indeed Li Moying's beloved woman. Li Moying's body stood tall and straight, the arm holding on to Huang Yueli's slender waist looked like it was full of strength. He didn't look like someone who had just regained his consciousness from a serious injury. Had he already recovered? Or was Li Moying trying to act tough, under his serious injury, so that he could cheat him to get off the ship? Looking at Li Moying nonchalantly kissing Huang Yueli, this made Li Lingchuan unable to get the meaning. Li Moying raised his head and from the corner of his eye, his gaze swept past the immobile Li Lingchuan. "Why? What are you still hanging around here for? Did you think I won't kill you? I'll count to 3, if you still don't get lost, don't blame me for not considering the fact that we are from the same sect. 1, 2, 3. The 3 word had just came out when Li Lingchuan suddenly drew out his spear and pounced towards the direction of the duo. The tip of his spear was pointing straight at Huang Yueli's back. Li Lingchuan was considered as an unwavering man. Since he already knew that no matter how he guessed, he would not know the real answer, why not just directly try his luck? What's more, he had 90% confidence that Li Moying had yet to recover, otherwise he would never believe that Li Moying would be so kind-hearted. Li Lingchuan was fast as lightning, his powerful profound energy instantly unleashed. The person he was dealing with was the almighty Li Moying, whom was unmatched in a very long time. Li Lingchuan didn't dare to have any signs of neglect nor luck, hence when he struck, it would be his strongest killer move. It didn't take a blink of an eye before his spear tip almost reached the back of Huang Yueli. You can also listen on. Although his movements are fast, Li Moying was even faster. Although Li Moying's eyes were half closed, his arm abruptly tightened and pulled Huang Yueli behind his back. At the same time, his sleeve waved slightly towards Li Lingchuan's direction. The rigid spear was sent flying away. Li Lingchuan grasped his chest and moved backwards several steps, until his back banged heavily against the railing and came to a stop. Blood slowly dripped out from one corner of his mouth. That stream of blood looked especially contrasting against his pale white complexion. Li Lingchuan coughed and felt a dull pain from his chest. He knew several ribs had already been broken and he had also suffered a considerable amount of internal injury. His eyes were wide open as he couldn't believe and couldn't understand how his deduction could be wrong. Not only Li Moying awoke ahead of time, he had also regained 80% of his power. At this current state, he was completed unrivaled. Li Moying held Huang Yueli's slender waist and his arm stroked her back lightly to comfort her. At the same time, cold words spat out from his mouth. Li Lingchuan, if you wish to die, just tell me straight. Looks like my mercifulness towards you made you think I'm weak and can be taken advantage of. Since that's the case, he squinted his eyes and beneath that look, his murderous intent appeared. Li Lingchuan instantly shivered because that gaze of Li Moying's, he was more than familiar. Every time he looked at someone like this, within 3 breaths, that person would definitely shed blood within 5 steps. Li Lingchuan was so scared that without thinking, he immediately shot to the ship's railing and leapt off from there. 6th-degree realm practitioners had not attained the ability to fly, so when he jumped down from such a height, although he won't die, there was a 90% chance of incurring a serious injury. Even so, it was much better than losing his lift by the murderous gaze behind his back. On seeing that their master had fled the scene, Li Lingchuan's subordinates lost all their morale to continue the battle. Some of them followed and jumped down the ship while the rest who didn't dare to were all quickly subdued by Moe. Hanging on Huang Yueli's face was a smiling expression as she turned and gently patted Li Moying's chest. You're still the powerful one. You've just awoke and managed to settle that weirdo. Speaking of this, what's his backing? Isn't he your junior brother? Why is it that he seems more like your enemy? Li Moying had just said one word before he suddenly stopped. Huang Yueli raised her eyebrows. What? Hemming and hawing like that, just speak directly. Li Moying continued to be silent. Huang Yueli curiously turned her head to take a look. She saw his face had turned pale white and sweat started trickling down his forehead. She turned pale with fright and shouted, Li Moying, what's wrong with you? Where are you feeling uncomfortable? But Li Moying still didn't reply her. His tall figure leaned against her and slowly dropped down. Both his eyes were shut tight and he slipped into unconsciousness once again. Huang Yueli used all her energy to support his body but she didn't dare to shake him so she could only softly call out his name. Master. How are you? Senior brother, wake up. The others anxiously rushed over and surrounded Li Moying. His fainting spell this time scared everyone out of their wits. Everyone brought him into the main cabin in a flurry and let him lie down. Luckily the living conditions in this flying ship was a lot better than the crude and simple tent in the dark moon forest. Li Moying would be much more comfortable lying down on the big and soft bed. You can also listen on. This was what you called black-bellied and sinister, killing someone without shedding any blood. As Huang Yueli reminisced, her fingertips were feeling Li Moying's face uncontrollably as it went past his nose bridge and continued downwards. This man was extremely good-looking, not only his features were beautiful like a painting, what was rarer was that he had a bearing of an emperor, who could naturally torment anyone. Such an aloof, arrogant person, yet he was only gentle towards her alone. Whenever she was in peril, he was always able to jump out without a care for himself, and used all methods to save her. Every single time, it was just in time. If it wasn't because she already had Mu Qingying in her heart, perhaps, she might have fallen in love with him long ago. As Huang Yueli absent-mindedly thought about it, suddenly her heart winced as she realized that Li Moying had been occupying her thoughts recently. Or she should put it this way, the image of the both of them were often entwined together in her thoughts and many times, she would even mix up the events that the both of them had done. Was this her hallucination? Or was she too lonely? That was why her imagination was running wild. You can also listen on. Third miss, what are you thinking about? Moe's voice echoed from behind. Huang Yueli snapped out of her thoughts and tried to shake those thoughts out of her head. She really shouldn't be considering these affairs of the hearts at such a time when everyone in the midst of fleeing. Moe gave her a questioning look, puzzled as to why she suddenly went into a blank. Third miss, there are still a number of people who Li Lingchuan had brought onto the ship. Although it looks like they have given in and are obediently steering the ship, we cannot be sure that we are clear of any spies. The few of us will need to run through checks frequently. To leave master here, Huang Yueli understood his meaning and immediately replied, please go ahead. Li Moying will be safe in my care. After Moe and the rest left, Huang Yueli personally poured some Saint Spring water and tried to feed Li Moying the medicine refined by Lu Baiyan. However, no matter how she tried to feed him, the pills kept rolling down from Li Moying's mouth. Huang Yueli tried several times and was still unsuccessful. She resignedly gave out a sigh. Seriously, you are already on the verge of recovery, why do you still refuse to take your own medication? On those days when I was refining the armament, Brother Moe and the rest must have spent a lot of effort to feed you the medication. Saying that, she took a mouthful of Saint Spring water and holding the pill in her mouth, she lowered her head and pressed her soft lips against the man's elegant thin lips. This action of feeding medication was done repetitively over the past few days, so she had become very skillful and did not feel that anything was wrong with this action as she did it subconsciously. The only thing was, during the process of feeding the medication, she seemed to have felt Li Moying's tongue moving, and it seemed to be licking her tongue. However, when she stopped to verify the feeling, there was no action from Li Moying. It might be her misperception. Huang Yueli didn't dwell too long on this matter and continued to feed Li Moying all his medication. After she was done, she sat on the chair next to the bed. Even though it was the third day that he had lost his conscience, his facial expression compared to the previous days was a lot better. And this round, his breathing was stable, expression was peaceful and his wound didn't rupture open. Everyone unanimously deduced that he should be able to regain his consciousness very soon. So they were not as anxious as before. After Moe and the rest had completed their duties on the ship, they dropped by to check on Li Moying and following that, each of them lodged an excuse to left the room, leaving only Huang Yueli to care for him. Huang Yueli was strung up tightly like a taut bow, always under the greatest pressure. Now, upon seeing that the few of them had already got out of the danger zone and Li Moying's condition started to stabilize, she could finally heave a sigh of relief. In an instant, she relaxed all her sense and the sense of tiredness crept over her as her eyelids started to get heavier and heavier. Finally, she huddled herself against the back of the chair, her head prodding lower and fell into deep sleep. In the middle of the quiet night. In the darkness, the man on the bed opened his eyes. That pair of dazzling peach blossom eyes, when it first opened, it was a bit lost. But very quickly, it became sharp and clear and his gaze instantly fell onto the young lady beside his bed. Looking at her tired composure, the man's eyes flashed past a glint of tenderness. He stretched out his hand and arranged the messy strands of hair on the lady's forehead before he carried her lightly and gently put her onto the bed. The young lady seemed to have felt something, and with a "n" in her throat, her head subbed against the man's body uneasily. "Lear, be good." He lowered his head and gave her a quick peck on her face. The young lady obediently stopped moving. The man smiled lightly and let her down gently on the bed. Following that, he climbed onto the bed and held her soft body on his crook of his arm. He shut his eyes shortly after that. This was his first time sharing a bed with someone else. He had initially thought he would not be used to it, But the truth was, his entire body relaxed as he whiffed in the faint fragrance from the young lady's body. Shutting his eyes, within an instant, he was fast asleep. And it was a dreamless night. The next morning, just as the sky shot out its first ray of light, Huang Yueli awoke. She slowly opened her eyes and momentarily, she couldn't make out where she was. After she had clearly seen herself lying on the bed and beside her was a man, she had a shock. She gently rubbed her eyes and shut her eyelids for a while before reopening her eyes. However, it was the same scenario as before. Lying beside her was still a man. An incomparable handsome, unsurpassed charming devilish man. She shockingly sat up from the bed and frustratingly patted her own face. In her mind, she kept trying to recall what had happened last night. Last night, she took care of Li Moying for the entire night. After that she got too tired so she crawled up to the back of the chair and fell asleep. Her memory up to this point was very clear, but how did she climb up to Li Moying's bed then? What's more, she was like an octopus, clambering all over his chest and slept for the entire night. Could it be that she didn't know she had the habit of sleepwalking? Just as she was frustrated over this, the man on the bed had silently opened his eyes. Looking at the little fox break out into different expressions, one moment she was frowning, the next she was biting her lips, and followed by pouting. The confused, melancholy and helpless expressions caused him to burst out into laughter. Huang Yueli was startled, before she could react, her shoulders were locked by the man and pressed down on the bed. Li Moying's strong and masculine body frame immediately covered her, his arms were propped against the sides of her body as he slightly lowered his head and looked at her oppressively. Huang Yueli blinked, you're awake. Li Moying's lips curled into a smile. That perfect lips curvature looked extremely sexy under the first glimmer of dawn. Yes, good morning, my Lear. Gee. Good morning. Huang Yueli subconsciously replied. You can also listen on. Li Moying lowered his head and inched nearer to her. His body also lowered by several inches and his powerful chest stuck close to Huang Yueli's body. In a low voice, he expressed, "It was hard on you for taking care of me for the past few days. Last night. Did you sleep well?" The vocals of this man was filled with a husky yet-to-wake-up voice, deep and magnetic. Huang Yueli hadn't noticed that she was blushing. Not bad. Let go of me first. I want to get up. As she felt the man getting nearer, her heart set off an alert and she hurriedly pushed him aside in an attempt to make him get up. However, Li Moying remained immobile and continued to half lean against her, gently taking a whiff of the fragrance in her hair. Li Moying, get up. Huang Yueli used a bit more strength and shot him a furious glance. However, compared to Li Moying's strength, that little force of hers was only enough to scratch an itch. Li Moying laughed with a hint of evilness, why the hurry? It must have been tough for you to take care of me for the past few days, so rest a little while more. Be good and lie down, close your eyelids. She would be in danger if she really shut her eyelids and laid properly. Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him, all right. Stop these nonsense. You've just woken up, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Quickly lie down and rest properly. I need to get up and let Moe and the rest know that you've already awoken. She gave a push again but he didn't budge as she felt enraged. Li Moying, move aside and let me get up. Li Moying lowered his head, I can get up. But I'm injured and I feel a loss of security. So I need you to give me some comfort. Comfort. Huang Yueli instinctively felt something was up. As expected, Li Moying's lips curled upwards, a kiss. Kiss me voluntarily and I'll let you get off. Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him, what on earth goes on in your head? Knock it off. I'm not fooling around, I want a kiss. I've saved you several times, so I'm only asking for a kiss as compensation. That isn't too much, right? Li Moying insisted. Huang Yueli raised her eyesight and stared at his insistent black pupils, and her heart trembled. After some time, she responded, "All right, I do feel gratitude for you saving me, and I will definitely think of a way to repay you back. But you cannot just ask a girl to repay you using her kiss. That is very immoral." "In what way is it immoral? You are my fiancé. When have I ever admitted that I am your fiancé?" Huang Yueli denied flatly. Li Moying smiled slyly. That expression resembled a cat which had stolen a fish. "What? Have you forgotten? Yesterday when Li Lingchuan appeared, you admitted in front of him repeatedly that you are my fiancé, and you claimed that you are Moe and the other's future mistress." Although I was immobile, but my consciousness was very clear. So I heard those words loud and clear. Huang Yueli stared blankly and felt her head swelling, following by her blood rushing upwards, scorching her entire face as red as a tomato. Was there a need to be so deceptive? Li Moying actually heard what she said. She took a deep breath and tried to explain her way out. "You don't misunderstand, all right. I was only using a plan of convenience. If I didn't say that at that point of time, would Li Lingchuan have let off Moe and the rest? If not for the safety of all the other Mo brothers and junior brother Luo, I won't say such things blindly, so please don't misunderstand me. You can also listen on." Misunderstanding. You say that it's a misunderstanding. When Li Moying heard her said this, his expression turned a little unsightly. Only heaven knew that while he was in an unconscious state, the joy he felt when he heard Huang Yueli declaring that she was his fiancée while she blocked him off from the enemy. At that moment, how he wished he was able to regain his conscience and pull her into his embrace to kiss her. That was why he was able to regain his conscience in time eventually. The feeling of excitement remained in his thoughts, but this lass was now saying it was just a misunderstanding. And that she was saying it without any further thoughts. Huang Yueli started to feel guilty from his stare. Ugh. She didn't know how to continue. Even though Li Moying had saved her on several occasions, she felt touched by the gestures and was willing to give up everything to repay him, even if it meant giving up her life. She wouldn't even hesitate. But if it meant for her to agree to marry Li Moying, that was impossible, as in her heart laid the shadow of another man. Looking at the hesitant expression, Li Moying suddenly felt flustered. Even though normally, this lass was always quick to reject him, but at this very moment, he had just returned from the doors of Hades, so he was feeling especially unsettled, even more so than any other times. At this moment, he desperately needed to hold on to something to verify the relationship between the both of them. So as Li Moying looked deeply into the eyes of Huang Yueli, he suddenly forcefully held her chin, lowered his head and passionately kissed her. His kiss was not gentle at all, to the extent of being brutal. His lips heavily crushed that pink-colored lips, and he biting slightly on the tips of her lips. When he heard Huang Yueli's low moans of pain, he felt even more excited and kissed even more passionately than before. It was as if he was trying to use this kiss to pass on all his despair, uneasiness, entanglement to this conscienceless lass, to let her know clearly the scorching feelings he had for her. Huang Yueli initially pushed against Li Moying's chest in a bid to escape, but under the strong clampdown of Li Moying, she had nowhere to hide and could only accept his forceful kiss. As time went by, Li Moying's kiss gradually turned from intense to gentle. Huang Yueli didn't know what happened to her as her head was dizzy, and subconsciously, she started to respond back to this man. This man's hug, the intimate exchange of their lips and teeth, made her feel at ease. Just as the two were kissing passionately to the state of oblivious, the door was suddenly interrupted by a bang 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 knocking sound. "Sister-in-law, Have you woken up? How is senior brother? Were there any problems last night? I've been worried, so I'm coming in to take a look at him. After Luo Jiyun knocked, he didn't wait for any response, simply opened the door and walked right in. When he entered the room, he probed his head and looked towards the bed and stood dumbstruck at the original position. On the spacious big bed was a couple with their clothes in disarray, and they were hugging each other passionately in a tight embrace. The blanket had fallen onto the floor from their entanglement. Huang Yueli had originally immersed herself into the kiss, but when she heard Luo Jiyun's voice, she unexpectedly regained her senses, started struggling again. From the corner of his eyes, Li Moying had already spotted Luo Jiyun's presence, and although he was displeased with Huang Yueli's resistance, he didn't have any intention to let anyone see a live performance, so subsequently he still reluctantly released Huang Yueli. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.